Step right up, folks. Come and see the amazing Xperia Z5 Premium featuring an astonishing 4K screen. It's everything you've ever seen and done 100 times, but now in 4K. Yes, friends, 4K is the future, and the future is now. The Scimitar RGB from Corsair features 17 programmable buttons, a 12,000 dpi optical sensor, and a shape designed for comfort in MMO and MOBA games. Learn more at the link in the video description. Alright, so I guess that silly intro bit gives away some of my concluding thoughts on the Z5 Premium, but I've got a bit of a routine to run through here, so let's get that stuff out of the way first. If you've seen one Sony Z series device, you've pretty much seen them all at this point, so the Z5 Premium holds not too many surprises up its sleeves. It's got a blocky shape with an unadorned back panel, save for the camera and flash, a micro:B charging port with wrist strap loop on the bottom, a dedicated shutter button, volume rocker, and a lock button with integrated fingerprint sensor on the right, a headphone jack and noise cancellation microphone on the top, and finally, okay, I guess it does have some surprises, a microSD expansion slot along with a dual SIM card tray, making this phone a winner for frequent travelers who load up a lot of media for trips and have phone plans in multiple countries, or even just people who want to save a few bucks here and there, leveraging cheaper data on one carrier and cheaper voice on another, for example. At the front are dual forward-facing speakers, a selfie camera, and the main event, the 4K screen. But I'll talk more about that later. The ergonomics of this phone were a bit of a mixed bag for me. I mean, I liked the design of the iPhone 4 a lot, and I still do, but one of the reasons that the like heavy, blocky, solid feeling metal and glass design worked so well was that it was small and therefore easy to handle without dropping, and this carried over quite nicely to my new daily driver, the Xperia Z5 Compact, which I reviewed quite recently. But at the size of the premium variant, I mean, we're talking about a 5.5-inch display phone here with substantial forehead and chin bar areas, it is pretty darn unwieldy. A curved back and lighter construction would likely go a long way towards remedying this for me, but there are some trade-offs there as well. To a man or lady, every phone person who touched the Z5 Premium or saw me using it said something along the lines of, wow, it really lives up to the premium name, and that was without getting to experience the 4K screen. Which I guess leads us pretty well into the screen. First things first, at this pixel density, we're talking a whopping 800 pixels per inch. It's a freaking miracle that Sony managed to get a backlight to shine through the electronics at all. The fact that they also managed to deliver a bright, accurate display to boot is a freaking miracle. But there's some bad news about the screen as well. In the time that I was using the phone, it actually almost never ran at its 4K native resolution. This is for a couple of reasons. Number one is that Android Lollipop doesn't have proper 4K support, so it'll only switch in a couple of apps, two of which, by the way, are Sony's own album and video apps. But even though that will be rectified in the future somewhat, DPI support is kind of an issue too. Problem number two, the fact that running at 4K puts unneeded strain on the phone's processor, sapping battery life, means that even after the Android Marshmallow update, Sony will likely leave this limitation in place. So there you go. Most of the time, your 4K display will be running at 1080p instead. Something that in the past, I would have dropped the phone like a hot potato and said, run away, because running LCD displays at anything but native resolution has traditionally destroyed text sharpness. But in this case, actually it was just fine, and I wouldn't have even noticed that it has a 4K display if you didn't tell me. In fact, 4K content even didn't look materially different from sharpened 1080p content at this size. Which raises the entirely new question of, well, what is the point then? To which I would reply, Android handset makers, Sony included, just don't know how else to differentiate from the crowd. I mean, look at the rest of the specs of this phone. 2 GHz Snapdragon 810 CPU with Adreno 430 GPU, 3 GB of RAM, AC Wi-Fi, NFC, FM radio, quick charge 2.0, fast charging, fingerprint scanner. I mean, it's got everything but the kitchen sink. And hell, if Sony shipped it with one of those, it would just be a great demonstration of the IP68 water and dust protection. The thing would still work. I mean, that is some fairly standout stuff. I mean, the Snapdragon 810 is still a mini furnace that thermal throttles noticeably after only a few Geekbench runs, but performance is still well within the acceptable range. And anyway, what else is Sony supposed to use? And therein lies the problem. No matter what gimmick Android makers throw at their premium devices, they can't differentiate from each other, let alone from Apple. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that having front-facing speakers made headlines, and if you had a solid camera on an Android device, you were going to sell a lot of units. But the Z5 Premium has both of these things. The camera, which I actually glossed over earlier, by the way, is a 23-megapixel affair with 4K 30 FPS video recording, slow-mo, and it performed admirably in my typical full auto testing of the device. But today, those things amount to nothing. Android phone makers have given it everything they've got, and people are still buying iPhones in greater numbers than ever before. So what do? Well, they go back to bigger and better numbers, even if it's actually meaningless, like even more meaningless than ever before, like we turned it off 99% of the time, meaningless. It's kind of a shame though, because from reading other folks' reviews of the Z5 Premium, it feels like Sony, and therefore everyone covering the phone, got so focused on the 4K display that they missed that this is also just a really solid device. The 3430 milliamp hour battery got me comfortably through every day while I was using it, and Sony's OS skin continues to make small evolutionary improvements without ruining the Android experience, which is sweet, but just not enough to win me over or to recommend that, especially for the price, wow, you run out and buy one. And on that subject, Dbrand, makers of the high-quality vinyl skins that you see on the devices in our phone reviews. Now, I could spend some time telling you that Dbrand is very affordable, they have inexpensive shipping around the freaking world, their skins are high quality and they're cut precisely and they've got a bunch of different styles, but I'm not going to tell you any of that stuff. What I'm going to tell you today is that Dbrand actually has a special, exclusive, 48-hour only color. It is an orange carbon fiber, the same one that you saw in Scrapyard Wars Season 3 on the back of my MacBook. That's kind of like an LTT orange, so you guys are going to want to check that out at the link in the video description right below. They can put it on a phone, they can put it on a console, they can put it on a computer. Pretty much, you name it, they'll put it on it. Unless it's like your grandmother. I don't know why you would want a vinyl skin on your grandmother. I mean, I guess it would protect her from incidental scrapes and scratches and make her look better. Maybe there's something to this. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If this video sucked, you know where that button is. But if it was awesome, get subscribed, hit that like button, or even consider supporting us directly by using our affiliate code to shop at Amazon, instructions for which are up there, by buying a cool shirt like this one, or with a direct monthly contribution through our community forum that gets you a little contributor badge. Now that you're done doing all that stuff, you're probably wondering what to watch next, so click that little button in the top right corner to check out the video where I show off the update to our 100 plus terabyte. Actually, it's like 23 times 6. So yeah, so it's well over 120 terabytes in its new configuration. Storage server. We made some changes.